Aphex Twin, one of my favorite artists of all time and an artist with a near perfect discography. While I would love to talk about everything Aphex has released, this video is going to focus on just his 6 studio albums, and which ones I think are the best and worst. Something important I want to say before we start ranking these albums is that none of these albums are bad per se. Albums in the lower tier are just weaker in my eyes. Not bad, just my least favorite. That out of the way, let's get ranking. In the bottom tier we have Syro, Aphex's last studio album as of writing this. Now I don't know the general consensus on this album, but in my opinion, this album is just okay. The tracks are definitely good songs, don't get me wrong. It's just, at least in my opinion, it doesn't have that same Aphex sound like these other albums, you know? In my opinion, the weakest songs on this album have to be 1080 dB and Xmas Event. 180 dB is overrated and should have been shorter. But if you want to talk about needing to be shorter, then look no further than Xmas Event. I think the beat of the song is good, but my god, did the song not need to be 10 goddamn minutes long. Now, is there anything I like about Syro? Well, yeah, of course. I think the tracks, while a little bland for Aphex, are really catchy most of the time. However, this album does have one phenomenal track on it, and that's Anastasia. I don't call it by its real name because fuck trying to say the real name. The track is a beautiful piano piece that, in my opinion, is the definite highlight of the album and one of Aphex's greatest compositions of all time. Overall, I don't dislike Syro. It's a good album at the end of the day. It's just the weakest of Aphex's albums, you know? Number 5, I have Richard D. James' album, Aphex's 4th studio album. This album, while better than Syro, does leave a lot to be desired in my opinion. For one, it's his shortest album to date, only being around 30 minutes in length, which is odd considering all of his other albums are at least an hour in length. Just thought I'd point that out. Secondly, all of the tracks, while good, do kind of blend in with one another in terms of sound, with the exception of Fingerbit. All of the songs are fast, but do kind of blend in with their more loud sound. Now, one thing I will give this album over Syro is that it feels more like an Aphex album than that one, at the very least. You know, it has this more signature brand of like sound on there. In the end, while this album is better than Syro, I do feel confident in calling this the second weakest album of the bunch. Now we're at number 4, and this is where things start to get good. Like, really good. Because in number 4, we have Selected Ambient Works 89 to 92. For being Richard's first album, he knocked it out of the damn park on his first drive. The album is filled with classics like Zatal, Green Calves, and Pulse Width. I will give it some slacks for being basic because it was his first album. Iconic for sure. But that isn't to say it's perfect by any means. Oh god, no. Firstly, I can't lie and say the second half is a little forgettable. Not saying those tracks are bad by any means, it's just the fact that I struggle to remember the tracks' names, aside from tracks like Music Makers and Stockton 7th Path. Overall, this album is a great start for an IDM legend and a good starting point for people interested in Richard D. James's work. Alright, now at number 3 is the Aphex album that I personally have some complex feelings about. And that's I Care Because You Do. This album does a lot of things I really like, but also does things I really don't like. We'll start with the things I like about the album first. The tracks on this album are really damn good. Songs like the criminally underrated Mood Kid, the classic Alberto Balsam, Ventolin, and all those other tracks are really good and make for a groovy feeling album all throughout. However, my biggest gripe with the album is that although the songs are good, it's the length of this song that kind of drags it down a bit for me personally. Like, certain songs are kind of long, you know, it kind of drags down your whole re-listening thing. It takes too long to listen to some of the songs. Overall, This album is amazing. If some of the songs were just a bit shorter, it would definitely rank higher. But third is a good spot nonetheless. Also, get ready for me to sound like a massive hypocrite with the next entry. Second place is Selected Ambient Works Volume 2. Holy shit, this album is amazing from start to finish. The tracks, while the majority of them are unnerving in a one way or another, are beautiful and comforting at the same time. The album sounds otherworldly and way ahead of its time considering the release date of 1994. The tracks are the perfect length to where I have no problem listening to it for 2.5 hours. Yeah, this album is long. Hell, it's the longest album under the Aphex name. But in this instance, I don't think it's a bad thing. You might think it's unfair saying the length is fine here, but not on the last album. But in my opinion, this album being an ambient album justifies the length in my eyes due to ambient works usually being longer in their tracks. They have more length to them, therefore they create a better atmosphere. And I just think some of the tracks on the last album, while good, do kind of drag on for a while. Now, do I have any complaints? Of course I do. It'd be dumb to not have any. Foreshadowing a little bit. For as good as this album is, I think that tracks 8 and 9 are easily the weakest tracks. 8, while not being bad, is in my opinion a pretty boring track all around. 9 is the weakest track of the entire album due to the annoying tone that persists throughout a lot of the track. While listening to the album for the first time, it gave me a headache. Fun. Overall, this album is fucking phenomenal, taking you on an incredible journey from start to finish. And if you're curious, my favorite tracks, keep in mind I'm not including the bonus vinyl tracks from 94, are 3, 19, 19, and 20. Overall, an amazing album, but not as amazing as number 1. This really wasn't a surprise, but honestly, it was expected. My favorite Aphex Twin album of all time is Drugs. How the hell is this album this goddamn good? I have zero complaints. Not a single one at all. This album is filled with so many head-banging, drum and bass, breakbeat tracks, while also having beautiful piano melodies all throughout the album to break up the madness of those fast-paced tracks. While some people may not like this aspect of the album, I personally think that this album is both a perfect example of Aphex's abilities to create great IDM tracks and beautiful, soothing melodies, but it's also Aphex at his goddamn peak. To use a metaphor from a wise-talking crab, aka Schaeferless, if this was Aphex's series finale, I would be more than happy with this being the end to an IDM legend. I'm glad he kept going, because there's plenty of good things that came after that, like tracks off of Cyro and certain songs from EPs, but nothing can top just how perfect of an album this is. Is it worthy of being my favorite Aphex album of all time? It absolutely does. From start to finish, this is what, in my eyes, is Aphex's goddamn motherfucking peak, bro. That was fun. I had a lot of fun making this video, ranking my personal favorite albums from one of my favorite artists of all time. And honestly, I hope I get to do more of this in the future, and hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I would be open to, making more ranking videos of artists that I really like. I'm thinking about doing either Death Grips or Tyler the Creator in the future, since I just got done listening to Goblin, and really look forward to seeing what others think of my ranking. But otherwise, it's been a fun time ranking all of Aphex's albums. So, if you want more of this content, just, you can subscribe, like the video, or comment. It really helps out, grows the channel a little bit. I'll see y'all in the next video.